Hello and welcome back to the Game Bet Match podcast. I'm your host, Manny Friedman, along with my
Brad
co-host.
Sloan.
All right, back in the house, baby. So Indian Wells is in the book, our first Masters 1000 of the year. Great tournament.
What episode is this, Manny? Are we on like episode 20
It's like
something?
20. It's
This is
almost episode
20.
20. Yeah.
Alrighty.
It's good. We've been consistent and it's been taking off.
Yeah, we kind of take a little bit of a hiatus. Like a full week hiatus is actually pretty long for us. But
It is. Well, we're up to what, 150 followers on Twitter now? 156?
157, baby.
Yes, let's go. We're doing well.
It's slowly increasing. We also have some like extreme followers. Like we've got a few who like show us a lot of love, and we got a lot of regular followers. Like we need to have we need to have like premium followers.
Kumat Monroe, right? That's one of our
Not me, bro, dude. I'm pretty sure that's a false name, and it's a great joke.
Well, we appreciate the that you like our expertise, and we'll continue helping you out on your tennis picks. And I don't. Well, we appreciate the chat for sure.
I'm not
Did you appreciate our
actually,
picks?
you know what? You may be an expert, Manny. I'm just like riding shotgun as like the dummy. Like you actually might be an expert. That's probably true.
I'm not so sure about that. You make some pretty good picks too. So let's get right into it. This part of the show, we're gonna do Indian Wells recap. We left off with the round of 16 preview, so we're gonna recap all of our round of 16 quarterfinals, semifinals, and final bets. We're gonna do our Bulldog and our boost of the week, as we always do. We will talk about the draw. There are no futures up yet for the for the Miami Open, but we will talk about the draw, and we will end with some round 2 qualifying bets that we're going to make for tomorrow. So let's start it off with the Bulldog of the week. So that is, let me share my screen.
This is a pretty clear one. One of the easiest Bulldogs of the week we've ever had.
And that is going to be Mr. Carlitos Alcaraz. What a beast, man. I mean, I can't, there are not enough superlatives to describe how good this guy is. I mean, it's insane.
No, I mean, it's at 19, right? Like at 19, It's insane.
Insane. Coming off the injury too. I mean, this guy is just a mental and physical beast. He was just meant to play tennis. It's just incredible. It's just incredible.
And in the final, he annihilated Medvedev.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we want to start there because there's probably other stuff to talk about, but that was probably the most important moment of the week.
Probably. I mean, it's just...
in terms of something that that's the first time we've seen that matchup, and we definitely saw, and I think that matchup is different on a faster court, by the way. Like, Medvedev really wasn't great all week, so I don't think this is indicative of how it's going to look like every time they play. But, man, I mean...
Yeah. This is Medvedev just beat Djokovic in straight sets on a hard court. Granted, it was a faster hard court. In conditions he probably likes slightly better, but still, it was such an annihilation. I actually think Alcaraz matches up better with Medvedev than Djokovic because I think he's actually in a way more willing to come forward. He hits bigger off the ground, and he hits the drop shot more willingly and in better spots.
His drop shot's really, really good, and that's not much of an analytical point there, but it's pretty relevant. I think also because Medvedev likes to be a little bit further back or doesn't mind being further back. And so Alcaraz, and I do think he's a really good volleyer.
Amazing volleyer.
And so, I think that matters against Medvedev.
But against Alcaraz, you can't give up that much court. There's no way you can come back from that. There was one game he had 3 drop shot winners.
Yeah.
It's
again, I partially think that's true. I do still think the court, I do want to see this matchup. This is I don't know if it's Alcaraz winning at home, because probably at home would be on clay. But this is a surface, a venue that favors Alcaraz, I would want to see this played at like somewhere else, maybe like a Washington or some sort of one of the U.S. summer hard courts to see in a different environment what it looks like. But I do think Medvedev. I'm not saying Medvedev would win, but I do think it would be a lot closer.
Okay, all right. I honestly, from what I saw, I don't really know if it makes a difference because it's just what he was doing. Like Medvedev was like nowhere near the ball, like half the time. Like I don't know. Like Medvedev never stands in for returning serve. Really, like I don't know how many adjustments he can make unless he like changes his game totally. And he's not used to that pace with the finesse. Like that's a lot to defend.
It is. I agree.
And it's hard for Medvedev to take offense in points, like he can't really put Alcaraz under that much pressure because offense is not his game.
But a quicker court, right? A quicker court is going to help because Medvedev hits a much flatter ball. Quicker court, his ball will be better. He'll get a little more quality out of his ball, whereas this court, his ball sits up a little more, which is really bad against Alcaraz.
Okay.
Also because Alcaraz likes to take a pretty big swing. So yeah, I don't know. I
agree that it's closer. If this matchup would play out on a faster hard court, like say a Cincinnati, I would make Alcaraz probably a 3.5 game favorite.
So it'd be closer than 8.
Huh?
It'd be closer than the 8 or 7 we saw, 6-3, 6-2.
Yeah, but from going to a pick'em to a 3.5 game favorite is pretty sizable, and I would still have trouble taking Medvedev there, even with those odds, based on what we saw.
Okay. Interesting. I'm not saying I think it's a pick'em. I still would put Alcaraz as a favorite. It's really hard to quantify if it's, it also depends obviously on how both players are playing, right? Like Alcaraz was playing, like Alcaraz had a really good tournament. Medvedev really didn't. Like, I don't think there's a single match where we would say Medvedev looked good or like better than we thought he would. Like he looked okay against Fokina.
But that was still 4 and 6, right?
5 and 3.
5 and 3, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, or 3 and 5, but either way. Yeah. But he looked okay against Fokina, but that's what I'm saying. Like he didn't look great. He just looked okay, and then he looked not good against Zverev. I didn't really like the way he looked against Tiafoe.
The score was closer than the match actually was, though, against Tiafoe.
I agree. I get. Yeah, I mean, I'm just. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. I think that's probably a little bit of a. Although, I mean, I think Medvedev. So I saw statistically, and this is kind of surprising, but Medvedev won 3 points in his first 5 return games. Wow. So the first set up until 5-all, Tiafoe was holding easily.
That's true.
But there definitely was a period in the middle, like the end of the first and beginning of the second set. Tiafoe definitely fell off for a while. But I didn't even know if Medvedev looked that good even then. Like, I mean, Medvedev had some sick shots, no doubt. We watched the second set of that match. Like Medvedev hit some sick shots.
Yeah.
But there was also a fair amount of Tiafoe just not like.
Yeah. Tiafoe was the worst semifinalist of the 4. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
And for that to be 6 and 5, I mean, I agree. It wasn't like a clinic that Medvedev put. It was
no, and Medvedev getting broken twice serving for the match.
Yeah, having
losing 7 match points, like all that's not good stuff. So like, but like I'm not surprised because like, so if we're talking Medvedev, like it still isn't a bad run for him. Like given how he had been here previously, like
it's not.
I don't know, making a final's not bad.
No, I mean it's a 19-match winning streak, making a final. I mean he's never made it past the quarters here. It's not bad. It's not
and
bad.
And he went and he pulled off that he had the triple, right? Rotterdam, Doha, Dubai.
Yeah, I mean it was
so after a triple coming and playing a Masters and doing this well.
Yeah,
I don't think it's bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad, but I have a feeling he might have an Alcaraz problem because I actually think Alcaraz matches up better against Medvedev than Djokovic. Like Djokovic and Medvedev do a lot of the same things where they kind of try to outfox each other, play with placement and strategy. Whereas like I feel like Medvedev is going to have trouble dealing with Alcaraz's power mixed with that drop shot and the, willingness to come in, which I feel like he's more willing to come in than Djokovic even in some instances.
Well, I think he's actually at this point in their career also a better net player than Djokovic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so the reason I was kind of thinking there is like, I actually don't know that I hear your take.
Mm-hmm.
Djokovic and Medvedev do a lot of the same things, but I would say in a very different way, right? Like Djokovic is much more aggressive in his positioning. Like Medvedev tends to get stuck a lot further back, especially. I mean, he obviously returns from the back fence. Like Djokovic doesn't give up nearly as much court, so I think it's a different. But I agree with your overall take of Alcaraz matching up better with Medvedev than Djokovic. But
I don't think Medvedev has ever seen that combination of power and finesse in one player. Like I don't think he's seen that, and I think that caught him off guard yesterday.
Yeah.
But
I also think we're talking, and like this is why it's like so. The spread was 7 games. I mean, that was a beatdown.
Yeah,
but that is the ideal. Like, I don't think the situation, unless they could do it on a clay court, I don't think the situation gets much better for Alcaraz.
You're probably right, and I think the wind actually helped Alcaraz. It was a pretty windy, cloudy day, so that probably also helped him a little bit too. Because he has more ability to hit through conditions than Medvedev.
Yeah. Again, I also think that like Medvedev just hits a very flat ball, so like anything that's sitting is just not great, right? Like,
But still, I mean, all that aside, conditions being favorable to Alcaraz and all that, I mean, it was an insane performance. I mean, it was a clinic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, it's still. I mean, obviously, anytime a guy wins by 7 games against a top 5 player, like that's a good job, right? Like we're not gonna. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not a criticism of anything Alcaraz did.
I actually think this hard court surface, might be better for Alcaraz than say even a clay court.
Yeah.
Hard court.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I actually think he moves better on hard than clay.
I agree. I think so too. Yeah.
So yeah. I think this is probably his best. This is probably the best place for Alcaraz to play, which is why it's like, yeah. So,
I mean, we'll go through like the Miami draw, but like he's got to be the favorite now to do the Sunshine Double because the injury looks like a thing of the past.
I mean, who would you favor against him right now? There's no Djokovic here. Like, who is anything less now than minus? Like, who would he be better? Like, who would you not take an Alcaraz money line of minus 200 against in this tournament coming up?
Probably no one.
My answer is nobody. Like on another slow hard court, granted it's slow for different reasons, but on another slow hard court, you're not like it's not met. Like who is it? I mean, so we talked about there being 5 great players right? A couple weeks ago, we talked about there being 5 really guys who feel like they're the top 5: Djokovic, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Alcaraz, and Sinner. Right? I mean, who else is at their level right now?
Sinner is like, you could put like Fritz in there.
I wouldn't put Fritz above Sinner, not the way they're playing right now.
Yeah. I mean, Sinner did beat Fritz in Indian Wells.
And Sinner's beating everybody who's not Medvedev or Alcaraz.
That's true. Yeah, you can't put Felix in there, can't put Rublev in there. You can't really put Norrie in there either after losing to... Who did he lose to? Oh, he lost
Tiafoe.
to Tiafoe
Yeah.
pretty easily too. Yeah, I would have to say you're right.
In my mind, it's a clear top 5, right?
With Sinner clearly being number 5.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I actually don't think he's that far off of Tsitsipas, but
yeah, you have to count Tsitsipas's Australian Open final. Right now, yes, if they played right now.
But Tsitsipas beat Sinner in 5 at the Australian Open.
That's true. That's true.
Like I think it's tough because like it all depends on surface and things too. But anyways,
yeah,
I do think regardless that there's 5 guys at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Djokovic isn't here.
Yeah.
Tsitsipas doesn't want to win. He already said that. He's not trying to win. I don't know why he's here. Probably to cash in.
Probably.
And Alcaraz just beat down Medvedev and beat Sinner. Like, I don't want to say it was like he was the better player against Sinner.
But Alcaraz didn't play that well and still beat him pretty easily. Like he played way better against Medvedev than he did against Sinner.
Alcaraz didn't beat Sinner. I wouldn't say he beat him fairly easily. He did save set point in the first set.
He should have lost. I mean, the first set could have gone either way, but like he still won it in straight sets.
And he wore Sinner down, I would argue. Like if they were playing a third set, if they were going to play a third set, I don't think Sinner had better than a 1 out of 4.
The 5-set loss to Alcaraz at the US Open, that classic that they played, that was like 120% Sinner. Like, I don't think Sinner's ever played as complete or good of a match in a losing effort than he did.
Yeah.
You know, like Alcaraz actually could play better than he did, like more consistently.
Yeah, although I wonder if there's kind of an effect the way that Alcaraz plays. It's kind of similar to Nadal, where like he because he hits he actually kind of hits like a nice ball to hit back. It feels like, and I feel like maybe that like gives the guys, especially if guys are playing well, maybe guys are more likely to redline against Alcaraz. I feel like we've seen this happen already a fair number of times that guys have looked really good against Alcaraz. He's already played a fair number of like classic matches where like guys looked really good against him.
Yeah, I think.
And the same thing is happening to Nadal, right? Like Fognini, Verdasco, like these guys with big games with like Ramley. I mean, even a few other guys, right? Like guys like Rasol, like right, like a kid, like a few times a year, a guy would show up against Nadal and just like redline.
Right.
And I feel like that might be like partially a factor of Nadal's game, and I think Alcaraz might suffer from that as well. Like his game makes opponents more likely to redline against him.
I'd agree with that. I mean, in the past, I've said it before. Like he's kind of had a tendency of making matches more complicated than he needed to. He kind of righted that ship though this week, like not losing a set.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably something that Ferrero is looking to do, is like just make him more efficient. I mean, that's got to be their focus, because I'm sure that's a factor in why he got injured, because he was just playing too many long drawn out matches where he's so much better than these guys. He should not, get into these long,
Yeah, but I think some of it too might, like I said, might be play style. Like the way he plays, he also does give away some points. But as opposed to like a Djokovic who's like
that's the difference between those two guys.
And Djokovic is like harder, I think, to play against. Like I think like if you're just trying to play well, I think it's easier to just play well against Alcaraz than it's to play well against Djokovic.
Yeah, we got to see some Djokovic Alcaraz. I mean, that we got to see more of that. We've only saw it once in Madrid, and I think it was a 3-set classic. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking about how they would look head to head against each other. I'm just talking about the differences in how they play, right? Like, and how the differences in how they match up and how they play versus other guys. But
I can tell you, Djokovic would have some trouble.
I'm not arguing that he wouldn't, right? What I'm saying is that I think Djokovic's style leads him to playing better versus other guys, or maybe not playing better, but like makes it harder for other guys. Whereas I think Alcaraz is going to suffer. I think Alcaraz is going to have a lot of these classic matches versus guys who are quote unquote below his level. I just think the way he plays lends itself to that.
Well, Djokovic is also on another level tactically, and he plays with so much precision, right?
Well, that's kind of the point, right? Like Djokovic kind of like he is so smart tactically and precision wise that like he like it's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Whereas Alcaraz, he probably has like the better, more athletic game at this point, but he makes some mistakes. He makes some poor tactical choices, like which leaves guys in the match. Also, like when a guy hits when a guy's like bombing away and hitting a nice ball, like that makes it easier to play against. Whereas Djokovic is constantly moving you around, putting you. I feel like Alcaraz doesn't like he tries to beat you by hitting winners as opposed to putting you in positions where you're uncomfortable. But I feel like Djokovic is the master of
But that being said, I thought he played an extremely well, good tactical match against Medvedev. Like, even though Medvedev didn't play his best match, like his tactics were spot on. So I think that's part of his evolution. He's only 19, so I think he's going to get there.
All right. I don't know if he's ever going to be like a guy that like Djokovic used to force a lot of errors. And I don't know if we'll see if Alcaraz becomes a guy who like forces a lot of errors in his career. I'm not sure he will be.
I think, he's going to hit a lot of winners, but I think his speed is intimidating enough where he's going to still kind of force errors. Like, I think he's going to develop that. Like, I think that's part of his evolution.
All right. Remains to be seen.
But I mean, his trajectory is just ridiculous. Like, it's.
I mean, but it's So we're saying that, but like
where he was like a year ago, and now, like
that's fair. The progression from like the fact that he's a late bloomer and he's here now. Yes, I was thinking like just the fact that he's here at 19 is like it's amazing. But we've seen other guys, like he's probably not that far ahead of where Nadal was at 19. But
his game is more complete than Nadal. Like Nadal, was basically just a clay quarter. I mean, I know he made Wimbledon final and stuff, but like he wasn't as established at net. He wasn't hitting the backhand as well. He
I mean, he was still winning a lot. He was still winning a lot of matches, and I think like on clay, he was better than Alcaraz. Even as, but I mean, again, I guess that's one guy, and like I will see the point of like the trajectory in a year and 2 years has been amazing. Like Nadal, you could see it coming maybe a little bit earlier. Like I think Nadal was winning. Was playing tour match like 15, 16.
But then now would stand 20 feet behind the baseline, run every ball down. But he didn't really have anything else at that age. He developed it as time went on. Like Alcaraz has so many more tools in the bag at that age, I feel.
Yeah. But I mean, Nadal was still winning. Was probably winning as many matches as Alcaraz is. Like, I don't know if I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, the two best teenagers of all time. I think it's pretty safe to say, but yeah. I mean, he's the favorite for a Sunshine Double. So I mean, if he completes that, and maintains the number one ranking, I mean, we all know Djokovic is the real number one because not being able to play these events is a joke. Let's just
right. I mean, he can't play half the events. He wins a slam and it doesn't count. Like
to me, the number one ranking doesn't mean anything, but still, nonetheless, to win a Sunshine Double is impressive.
Well, he hasn't done it yet, right? Like
there's
still a lot of tennis left.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on from the good to the bad.
All right, so our boost of the week is Tommy Paul. Yeah, this is kind of a sad one because like I like Tommy Paul, man. I want to like Tommy Paul, but like that against FAA was just a brutal choke.
One of the worst chokes I've seen, actually.
And I think it actually started in the second set. Like giving away the break to lose the second set at 3-4 was just horrendous. He just like started not moving his feet, missing four, like trying to run around forehands and being slow about it, missing four, like did that causing like wild misses on the forehand. Just it felt like in the middle of the second set, the choke started, and then like the closer it got to the finish line, the worse and worse it got.
I really hope he doesn't build this reputation because I actually respect him a lot as a player. I think he's a tremendous athlete. He's a great mover. Like I love his game, And I actually think he has top 10 potential if he clears this up, because this like even against Fritz and Acapulco, like he won the third set, but he nearly choked that match away too. Like he choked away the second set. I think he had 2 match points on his serve. Right. So I hope, like it seems like he plays so much better when he's behind as opposed to in front.
That is what's weird, right? Like it's not like he doesn't like mentally, like he'll choke but then it doesn't like, it's not like he like mentally gives up.
No, he just gets really tight when he's
he just gets tight. He's kind of like Busta. He's the perfect Busta because he is Busta.
Yeah, he is. I think he has more quality than Busta. I think he's a better player at this point. I mean, Busta in his prime, he was, he won the Olympic bronze, beat Djokovic there, and like, they're kind of.
Busta has a Masters, doesn't he?
Yeah, he won Montreal last year. That's true.
Yeah. So I mean, Busta did Busta make the top 10? He must have. He must have peaked in the top 10.
Just cracked the top 10, I think, maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, he's definitely ahead of. I mean, Paul has not yet achieved anything near Busta standards,
but yeah, I mean, that was really bad. I mean, how many match points was it? 8 against FAA?
It was somewhere between 6 and 8. It was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah.
That
being said, I think he's in Alcaraz's little section in the draw. So, like, I mean, if they play, it would be entertaining.
Would it? You don't think Alcaraz just beats him down?
Paul did beat him in Montreal last year.
Yeah, but Alcaraz really wasn't playing well the whole back half of last year. After that, I know he won the U.S. Open, but you talked about how he kind of just mentally toughed everybody. Yeah. But it's a fair call out. I guess maybe, right? Like this would be like this. I guess it's outside of a few top guys, probably about as close to a tough match as Alcaraz is going to get.
Probably. I mean, because Tommy Paul has top 10 movement, right? His ball striking and his kind of ability to finish points is not top 10, but like his movement is clearly top 10 to me. Like he moves.
And I think his ability to make difficult shots, not just movement, his ability to make difficult shots.
Right.
And his like feel and touch on like on the move is really impressive.
Yep. Which makes him really fun to watch, So
also I think his serve is really like, I think that's a weird thing for him too, where like I've noticed this trend with him. Like, I think he has like 130, 140 mile an hour serve.
He does.
He just like doesn't use it a lot. And I think that's weird.
Similar to Alcaraz in a way, because Alcaraz does have the power.
But Alcaraz doesn't have the placement.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know.
Either.
It feels like Paul would do well to hit his big serve more often. Like I don't really see what the downside is on the first serve of like hitting a big first serve. His second serve isn't that bad. He gets tight sometimes, but even when he gets tight, I don't feel like he double faults. Like I feel like ironically when he gets tight, I feel like his movement's what gets tight, not his like serve.
He just gets very tentative off the ground.
Well, I feel like he just stops moving.
Yeah.
Like ironically, his foot, like maybe not his foot speed, but his footwork gets a lot worse.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right, well let's move on to like some of our other bets for the week. Round of 16.
Yeah. So what did you have? Anything interesting?
Let's see here. Make it a little bigger. I'm almost up to 1,000 bets for the year. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but so fourth round, where we go. So going to the fourth round, So I think this was a great bet. Sinner -1.5 sets against Wawrinka. That was after Wawrinka had that crazy 3-set match against Holger Rune.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fantastic bet. Paul -1.5 sets at +210. I mean, that was a good bet on paper. It's just that it was a choke job, as we said. He was.
And exactly, I even thought the end of the second set was a choke job.
What was that?
I even thought the end of the second set, or beginning, the choke job began in the middle of the second set. It started early.
I agree. So on paper, that's a great bet. It just didn't cash because of the choke.
But is that something to start pricing in with Tommy Paul? That's part of why we talk about this stuff, right? It's part of why we have. I mean, having the Boost of the Week award is fun, but is Paul somebody that now we fade in matchups that seem tough because because he's a booster where he's a better over 12.5 play than he is a money line play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Wait 1 second. I want to share the spreadsheet. Here we go. Yeah, I mean that's why we talk about it. I agree. Paul is a guy I want to bet because he's really good. And
he's a fun watch.
He's a fun watch.
I like watching Tommy Paul matches.
Yeah, I agree. Alcaraz -1.5 sets against Draper. I know we talk a lot about Alcaraz, but let's talk a little bit about Jack Draper. He had a good win against Murray, but this guy just can't stay healthy. I mean, he can't last more than a set.
It's that, and he can't put matches back. He had a weird loss to Kwan in I think it was Adelaide either Adelaide or Auckland. He lost a weird match to Kwan. He's just young kid, still inconsistent. This is part of what makes Alcaraz so impressive, right? Is that he's so mature as well and doesn't run into these complete potholes. Yeah. Whereas Draper, he's almost in my where I don't bet him much because
you don't know if he's gonna end up with a pulled hamstring after a 2-set match.
Well, it's just so that's fine. Because if he does that and he retires, you're you can just bet him on a book where if he retires, then you don't lose money. So that that's a little more manageable. My bigger issue is he loses some random matches.
He does, but I think it's mainly due his game is pretty good. I think it's mainly due to his lack of fitness and his lack of stamina. I think it's a big problem. The Brits think he has a lot of hope. I really I don't like what I see. I mean, I just he's going to be hard to bet, and I don't really see him being a top 20 player with all these physical issues.
Yeah, I mean the physical issues are an issue, right?
Oh, it's a huge issue. He was gassed after 3 sets against Nadal at the Australian Open. And then
I agree. Tough, I mean, I
tough 2-setter against Murray, and then basically can't last a set against Alcaraz. I mean, it's not good. It's not good.
But flip it, he can also beat pretty good players. Right? He's just a hard guy to bet either way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a favorite against the Alcarazes and the Sinners of the world, but I'm saying he beat Kachanov.
Yeah, he has talent. But never bet him on a book where you don't get a push for a retirement. Because I see this being a consistent issue. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been I don't know career-wise if it's an issue, but certainly as we talk right now, it's an issue. Yeah. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I also had Davidovich Fokina over 12.5 games. That was a painful beat, actually. I think Garin was up a break in the second set. Is that right?
I think he was, yeah.
And then he couldn't even get to 5 games, and he got broken back, and then Fokina broke again to serve for the match. I mean, that was a tough beat, but I don't regret that bet. Medvedev, that was a dumb bet. -1.5 sets against Zverev. I mean, Zverev looked actually pretty good, I have to say. I mean, I wasn't.
He looked decent. I mean, I didn't think Medvedev looked good the entire tournament. I honestly thought like Medvedev. I don't think Medvedev played like the top 5 player we were talking about him being in this tournament.
But to me, it's not necessarily that I lost that bet. It's more the price at which I bet that at. Like to have that at -140 is just not a good bet.
For him to straight set Zverev at -140, yeah.
It's just not a good. It's just not a smart bet, you know.
Especially after Medvedev not looking good against Ivashka.
Right. So, I mean, I was all over Medvedev in that match, and I think we discussed it on our last pod, and I was like, how's Zverev going to win points and stuff? But, I mean, he played a decent match, but as you said, Medvedev wasn't that great in the entire tournament. But, you know, Zverev, like, my problem with him, his, like, entire career really is his, like, there's a huge mental gap with him in the top, like, echelon of men's tennis.
I don't know. Like, I think that's probably heightened because he's been terrible in slams. But like in best of 3, I think he's done okay against the top guys. He won a World Tour Finals, didn't he?
That's true. I just, you know, remember like him playing Nadal at the French Open last year. And
anything in a slam, yeah, it can, like in a slam, it completely gets in his head. I agree, but I'm saying in a best of 3, like there's a weird thing where like as long as it's not a slam, it seems like he's usually okay. And I didn't feel like I watched a good part of this match.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like this was so much mental gap as much as it was honestly like 2 guys who were actually pretty even players. Like Medvedev played like a borderline 15-20 guy this week, and that's what Zverev is right now.
I thought Medvedev was tougher mentally. Like the amount of times he saved love 40 in that match was quite. I think he saved love 40 like 3 or 4 times in that match.
Yeah.
To come back from that ankle sprain and then to get that break in the 3rd set, like I thought there was a significant mental gap in that match. That's just how I read that match. I watched quite a bit of it too.
Yeah, oddly, I didn't see. You know, I don't know. I mean, the way the match played out indicates something that would usually say more of a mental gap. So I'll give you that point. Mm-hmm. But like watching the match, I didn't feel like Zverev was cracking mentally. It just felt like he wasn't that good. Like,
okay. I guess he wasn't. I mean, yeah. I mean, looking at his results over the entire week, 3 sets against Ivashka, tight 3-setter against Zverev, you know, tight 2-setter against Fokina, like, you know, Tiafoe almost blowing 7 match points. Like, I guess, you know, overall, it wasn't a great week for him in terms of like overall tennis.
But he still made the final one. But it also shows you what a good draw he got.
Right.
And there's this weird dichotomy right now, especially with Tsitsipas being hurt and Djokovic not playing, where like the ranking, like you've got guys in the top 5, top 10 who just aren't top 10 players right now. It's like Tsitsipas right now is not a top 10 player because he's hurt.
Right.
Ruud is not playing anywhere near like a top 10 player. Now, I said in the last pod, like I think he could come back really quickly. But as of this moment, as we speak right now, he's not playing like a top 10 player. Mm-hmm. And then there's only 5 guys who are playing at that level. And of those 5, Sinner's not even ranked that high right now. No. I think Sinner's just getting into the top 10 now. So
yeah.
So like, and Djokovic isn't playing because he can't get into the US. So you've got 3 guys like. So what that means, you got a lot of guys with high seeds who are like not the best guys in the tournament. So you get a lot of weird, unbalanced draws.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, moving on. So we have Tiafoe Tabio under 21.5. That was a good bet. Tiafoe's just a better player than Tabio. He just overmatched him. Do you think Tiafoe has top 10 potential?
Sure, right? But I mean, well, I don't think he has like I think there's 10 guys who are either in the top 10 right now or who have more potential than him. But I also think like Tiafoe has potential to break in the top 10 for some period of time. Right? Because like at any time, like a couple of those guys will be hurt, won't be playing well. Those guys might not reach their, you know what I mean? Like yada, yada, yada. But like, I think there's probably 15 guys who I put ahead of Tiafoe right now.
Yeah, it feels like he needs a crowd in a US environment kind of thing. Like otherwise he doesn't really amp up and perform.
Yeah, but I mean, even when he's got the crowd and everything, I guess so when he has the crowd and everything, is he a better player than FAA? Is he a better player than Fritz? He's like somewhere in that tier, right? Which I guess like
he's a better player than Norrie.
Based on beating Norrie. All right. But like Norrie's not a guy who like Norrie, if you play at a top 10 level, you're gonna beat him. Right. That's Norrie's whole thing is like he feasts on when you're not playing well. It's just he's kind of just like there. Like
yeah, if you're injured or you're not playing well, he's gonna beat you. And he's going to stay there for 3.5 hours and wear you down. But if you're playing a top 10 level, it's tough for Norrie to beat you. But I mean, I have to be honest, he didn't play his best tennis. Like the way he played against Rublev was way better than what he played against.
I agree. I saw some of both matches. I would agree with you. Actually, I didn't see much of the Rublev match. It was so fast, but I saw some of the Tiafoe match. I would agree with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Norrie money line against Rublev was a good hit for me at plus 130. I was pro Norrie in the match against Tiafoe as well, and that didn't hit, but so that was a little disappointing. Plus, I had Norrie futures to win the quarter at plus 600, so that was disappointing. Medvedev money line in over 19.5 against Bokina. That was a sweat in the second set because I needed it to get the 7-5, but it barely got there. So that was good for me. I was pro Fritz against Sinner. That match really could have gone either way. It was just, I mean, I had Fritz futures as well. I had a futures parlay with the quarter winners, and that was the one missing leg there. So that was disappointing. That match was really even. It was great ball striking. I mean, did you
was it? Because like so I watched highlights of it. Like the ball striking was great. From the highlights, it looked even, but then I looked at it statistically, and statistically, Sinner was the better player. Like Sinner won like 55% of the points, and that translates to winning like 75% of the time in tennis.
Yeah, the second stat, I think Fritz served first, so he kept holding, so he kept putting scoreboard pressure, and then he broke in that final game. So I think it was more a product of like Fritz kind of putting scoreboard pressure since he was always like holding and being ahead in the set. But the first set and the third set, Sinner was the better player. There's no two ways about it. So, but it seemed even. Like they were trying to do the same thing. It was just pure ball striking. And it was like fun to watch for that reason.
Right, and the highlights the highlights were awesome because it was just pure ball striking. But like, and just amazing, just great. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. Yeah. It seems like it'd be a fun watch to watch. But I saw like when I saw the statistics on it, I was surprised that it was such a gap.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a clear gap there. Yeah. And then Alcaraz put a beat down on Felix. I mean, it was 6-4, 6-4.
But that was a beat down. Statistically, that was a beat down.
Well, Felix basically had to just run for his life to hold. It was. I mean,
I mean, this is insane. I think that Alcaraz won, if memory serves me, 42% of points on FAA serve, and FAA won like 27%. Like that is a beat down. Like usually that looks like 2-2 or something if that happens. Like,
well, FAA is like pretty mentally tough, right? So
I would agree with that. That's actually one of his strengths. I would agree with that.
It is. So he hung in there as much as he could, but it was really tough for him to, even get to 6-4 in both sets. Like, it was tough. So, it was actually high quality. I mean, I thought like they were both fun quarters to watch on that day. Fritz and Sinner just based on pure ball striking, but Alcaraz and Felix, like, they're just tremendous athletes, like both of them. So it was really fun in that aspect. But Alcaraz is just superior in pretty much every way, probably besides the serve. And the serve doesn't make that much impact on that court.
No, especially at night.
It plays like basically a clay court on a hard court kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, clay court with the hard court movement.
Right. So that was a good hit. I also hit a nice parlay in that match. I mean, I also had my share of pain this week, but there was a nice parlay. Where was it? Oh yeah, so Alcaraz to win in straight sets, Alcaraz to have over 2.5 breaks, Felix to have more than 4.5 doubles, and Felix to have less than 2 breaks. So that
the only one that surprised me there is the doubles from Felix, but
he doubles quite a bit, especially when he's under pressure, because his second serve doesn't have much margin on it. He doesn't like have a kick serve. He's always like trying to like slice it or hit it pretty hard.
Yeah. I mean that narrative makes a lot of sense.
So I got that at plus 900. So that was a nice hit for me. So that was quite a pretty profitable match for me.
Profitable match.
It was. Yep.
It's just funny the way you said
it. Profitable match.
Yeah.
Well, I also had a profitable semis because of the Alcaraz Sinner. I had Alcaraz over 12.5 games. That was a 3-unit bet for me, so that was really nice. And then the Alcaraz money line, most aces and least doubles hit. That was just pure luck because he hit an ace in the final game. So that hit at 12-1. I know you had a pretty bad semifinal, right? And
I had a terrible semis. I think I went like 1 for 18. I bet a bunch of props. So I wanted to kind of discuss this. So like, It was very interesting. There were a lot of breaks in the tournament, but there were very few breaks in the semi or the final. I mean, even the final only had 3 breaks, which given it was 3-2 and an absolute beatdown, it was only 3 breaks. And Medvedev didn't even get to break point. Like Alcaraz didn't even have to face a break point. And then in the two semis, I think there were 3 breaks in Alcaraz Sinner, which again for 2 sets is really not that much on this court. And then there were I guess there were a lot of breaks at the end of Medvedev and Tiafoe, but like I said, the first 10 games, each guy only won 3 points and the other guy served.
Right.
So I thought it was really weird. I don't know if it's just coincidence, or if there's something to it, but like in both the semis and the finals, with the exception of the kind of the choking at the end of the Medvedev Tiafoe match, it was really the server was really controlling the game.
So the semis, I think it was pretty sunny conditions, right?
It was. So that court plays faster,
probably a little quicker. But yeah, I mean, but throughout the week, there were tons of breaks all over the place, right? So it's hard to like say that you made the wrong bet. Like when you were doing your research on the break props, like did you see that matches throughout the week?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was looking at, right?
I mean, in most matches throughout the week. Yeah, I didn't really look into that. I didn't do too many break props, but yeah, it's hard to say that you made like the wrong bet if most of the matches prior to the semis had more than 5 breaks.
It was just really interesting that all of a sudden you get to these last few matches and they were very, all of a sudden like there weren't any breaks anymore. It was very weird, I thought.
Right. But that being said, even though you had a poor semis, you had a great final day, right?
I did, yeah. I mean, I had Alcaraz to win in straights. That was probably the best. And then I had Alcaraz to win with no tiebreak.
And you hit that right away, right? So you got that at plus 250.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that line came out at basically even money, or not even. That line came out as like a pick 'em to Alcaraz, and then moved because people backed Alcaraz, and I really did not see the argument for having that as a pick 'em. Even pre-match, having the Alcaraz Medvedev as a pick 'em seemed ridiculous to me, just given the given how much better Alcaraz was in this tournament. Like final aside, right? Like even the lead up, he was so much better.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
just because we didn't know how that match looked like prior to it, I would put Alcaraz as a slight favorite, but nothing like not more than like a 1 game favorite or 1.5 game favorite. Okay,
all right.
So, but that was before the match. Everything, in hindsight, now I would put him probably as a 3.5 game favorite, but.
Yeah.
You hit Medvedev more double faults at plus 650. Wow.
Yeah, that felt like it must have been some sort of error, but it never really got corrected. So I don't know why they would have but that didn't really make a lot of sense.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Alcaraz first break you hit. Alcaraz to break serve in each of the first 2 sets. You got that. Alcaraz to win and no tiebreak in the match at plus 350 you got.
Yeah.
And it's funny, all these props that you hit for that were just like minus 110, minus 130, you didn't hit those.
No, I hit all the long odds stuff. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, other than that, for Indian Wells, I didn't really have anything really too different than you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, we had a lot of the same stuff. I mean, I went pretty hard on Tiafoe. We already talked about that. But I didn't think that was bad. I mean, Tiafoe it was weird. Tiafoe I mean, I guess Medvedev is probably just a little too good for Tiafoe, but
it's not a great matchup for Tiafoe because when they get into those backhand to backhand exchanges, Tiafoe has no idea what to do. He's just,
which is weird because Tiafoe's got a great backhand.
He does have a great backhand, but he goes to the he feels pressure and he feels like he needs to do something special. I feel like he feels the need to go to a drop shot or do something weird, and it just never works out for him.
I agree.
It's you don't have to do anything weird. Trust your backhand. If you feel like an opportunity, you can go hard down the line. Use your net game to your advantage. But I feel like he just gets really flustered in those baseline rallies, and he just there's no need to trust your game.
I agree with you. I 100% agree. I thought that it was but it's just weird. I think it's just a mental gap because he's against other guys he hits great back. Even against Alcaraz, he hit a lot of great backhands in the U.S. Open match.
Yeah, because I think he just he doesn't really know what to do with Medvedev's ball because it feels like it's attackable, but it really isn't because.
Well, I think that's actually the problem, right? Is Tiafoe. I think you hit on the head. So Medvedev, the one thing that Medvedev and Djokovic do that's a little similar, or that's more similar, is they keep the ball out of your strike zone.
Right.
And it just felt like Tiafoe just missed a lot of balls, because it was almost like he didn't expect the ball to not be in his strike zone. And then Medvedev hit some sick shots too when Tiafoe tried to come in. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing also was Tiafoe was coming in on balls he really shouldn't have come in on. He doesn't really know how to attack Medvedev's defense. That was the issue.
I would agree with that.
So, I was also pro Medvedev, pro Tiafoe in that match. I wasn't as pro Tiafoe as you. I didn't really see the value in betting Tiafoe plus 300 on the money line because it's I just didn't think he could.
I thought that match should have been more I didn't think Tiafoe would win, but I didn't think it was. I don't even think he wins 20 or 25%
of the time.
I thought it was more like 30 to 35.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing, right? Like, it's amazing how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I thought he could win a set just based on the crowd, and he was pretty close to winning a set, but it's like I'm sure I don't know the exact points, but I'm sure Medvedev won like probably 60% of the points. 59 maybe.
Ooh, I can look this up. That's a good question.
Because to me it just seemed like the score was way closer than the actual match was.
It felt like that for sure, right? So Medvedev won 39% of points on his return. Tiafoe 27. So yeah, it was a massive gap.
Massive gap. Yeah.
Yeah. And overall for the match, Medvedev won 50. So yeah, I mean, and 56% of points, it's almost never that close. So yeah, I mean, but obviously, right, like Medvedev choked away, 7 match points? So that's kind of was the story there. Medvedev was the better player, but he just he tried to choke the match away.
So before we head over to Miami, just a couple other guys. I want to discuss a little bit Fritz, Sinner, and Norrie. Like, what do you think this tournament means for those three guys? And like, do you think higher of Sinner, the fact that he made a semi here? Were you a little still disappointed in him?
No, I mean, like, what would I like? Why would I like? I have almost no opinion change of any of those guys. Like, the only one who I would maybe say a little bit is Norrie. Norrie's a little bit down, but it's not but that'd be more based on like I just haven't liked the way Norrie's played all year. Like, he's fought hard, and I know he won a lot of matches during the Golden Swing, but like he won a lot of close matches against guys who he's way better than. So and then so I guess that's Norrie. Like, for Sinner and Fritz, like we've been saying, Fritz is somebody who's not one of those top 5 guys, but he's in the second tier. I think that's pretty clear. And he showed that. Like, he was fine. Pretty good run up until he hit Sinner, who's a top 5 guy, and then he got beat pretty conclusively. Sinner, top 5 guy, did pretty well until he ran into Alcaraz, and even then, like, I don't know. Like,
he's not top 5 in the rankings, but he's top 5 in ELO ratings. So the ELO ratings agree with you
on Sinner. Yeah,
on Sinner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, to me, I've always I've said I think it's a miracle that Fritz got to 5 in the world. Like,
I don't think it's a miracle. Like, you see these guys like in the actual ranking, like rankings points, right? You see these guys blip up and down. Like, the fact that he's I think he's a top 10. So the fact that he was top 10 and got to 5 briefly, like, makes sense to me, especially given that like Djokovic wasn't there because none of his points counted.
But I think that's the peak of his upside, right? I think it's going to be hard for him to get, closer to 1 than that, right?
I agree with that, but I don't think I ever had the opinion. I would love to go back and see the preseason show, but I don't think I ever had him as a real threat to be number 1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't know. My opinion hasn't changed much of Fritz since the Australian Open. Like, he's not in that top 5 group, and he's in that second tier. He's in that 6 to 10 tier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you. I don't think I necessarily think any differently of any of those guys. Sinner, I really think he needs to improve physically. Like, in 2 sets, Alcaraz wore him down.
I agree, but again, that's not a new take, right? Like, we've had that take for. I talked about the not betting him in futures because he gets worn down. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like there's any learning there. I don't think anything's different there than it was last week.
But like Norrie doesn't wear down. He's just not as good in terms of ball striking and game, right?
Yeah.
But
like honestly, I mean, I don't feel like we learned a whole lot in this tournament. Like it's kind of disappointing from that perspective. Like, I mean, like I said, I think we kicked off the show with Medvedev Alcaraz.
Yeah.
And I think that was like really the only really in my mind meaningful thing of the week.
Yeah, that's probably
because like nothing else to me was really a surprise. Like Medvedev struggling on these courts isn't really a surprise, but him being good enough and tough enough to battle through against like second and third tier competition is not a surprise. Like,
right. True.
So
overall, a good tournament. It was a lot of fun.
Is any tournament not fun? Like, honestly, I thought this was actually one of the less fun tournaments. Like Golden Swing was way more fun.
I loved the Fritz Sinner match. I was truly entertained. I loved the Alcaraz FAA match. I thought like even though that was 4-4, like it was very entertaining. I love the round of 16 in these Masters 1000s. I just love that all 8 matches are in one day. It's just an insane day of tennis. Like it's just crazy. You know?
Yeah.
I just like I liked that there were a lot of top guys that made it to the end of the tournament. It felt like there wasn't like an unseeded guy that was just like so out there that, made a deep run and just like got totally worn down after, in a semifinal or something. So I'm glad in that perspective, it was like, like we got to see Alcaraz Medvedev, even though it didn't live up to the hype, like we saw that. We saw Alcaraz Sinner. I was like super excited for the semifinal. So like the names that met were like high tier names. And that excited me.
Yeah, I guess, and like, I had some losses in betting, so I guess it's like weird to say I'm not surprised, but I didn't feel like we learned anything. I guess that's what was a little bit disappointing. I didn't feel like there wasn't a guy who made a run that I was like, oh wow, that guy's like, I now feel differently about that guy. There wasn't a guy that like at the top that did something that made me feel like, okay, now I feel like he's, like I don't know if I have that many more new takeaways for Miami from this. And I guess that's always the disappointing part.
Maybe like, lower tier guys like Lechka, for example, like.
But he just goes into a temporary stay away bucket for me. Like I don't have any like takeaways there yet.
Okay, fair. I think that's a good way to transition into Miami. So let's go into some draw talk. So I mean Miami, right? Different, like another slow hard court tournament, right? Second half of the Sunshine Double. I do think though this is very different than Indian Wells. Like Indian Wells is slow because of the surface, whereas I feel like Miami is more slow because of the super humid weather. Okay,
and I think the weather is a call out here. Like it is, the Miami weather is oppressive, man.
Well, are we going to get rain? Rain is a factor as well in Miami.
So it looks like they're not expecting that much rain, at least not in the early part of the week.
Wow. Yeah, it looks really good, actually. 80s.
But you're still getting 70% humidity, low to mid 80s temps. It's not going to be like a nice.
Right. It's still hot.
It's still hot. It still is humid.
Yeah, but the nighttime conditions will be nice.
Yeah, you're right. That's a fair. Although not that much nicer. Like the lows are only in the mid 70s.
The humidity is the biggest thing here.
Exactly. For sure. Yep.
And some guys respond to it better than others.
Jack Draper, a humidity specialist.
Quite the opposite. I don't think he's even playing.
I left out the word retirement specialist.
Yeah, retire. I think he pulled out actually, Jack Draper. So we don't even have to worry about that. All right. So let's go through the top half of the draw. So you got Alcaraz at the top. I mean, he should easily get through Bagnes. Murray is a potential third round, or Maxime Cressy. How do you think Cressy matches up against Alcaraz if they play in the round of 32? You think like that's a danger matchup for Alcaraz? Probably not, but like, I mean, Alcaraz, like, how would you say how well do you think he returns? You think that's like a weaker part of his game?
I think he's fine. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, not a problem.
Like, I don't think it's particularly great, but I don't think it's a problem.
Right. Yeah. But I think like that's a guy he wouldn't want to see really early on in a tournament.
I don't think anybody wants to, but I will say, like, the winds are all expected to be between 10 and 15 miles an hour. If there's wind, that heavily plays against Cressy in my mind.
It's not like a fast indoor hard court. If this was
this is a slow. I would fade Cressy actually pretty hard in that match. I would think that Alcaraz could, like, it's probably Alcaraz +4, +5. And you might only get a line of like 3.5. You might actually be able to like take Alcaraz and lay games there.
3.5. I mean, if it's 3.5, I'll lay the games. If it's 4 or 5, I don't know.
I hear you.
Well, there's no chance that Cressy gets, there's no guarantee Cressy gets past Murray.
No, in fact, it's probably the opposite. Why are we assuming Murray's going to beat Lajovic?
He'll get past Lajovic. It might be a 3-setter. It might be like a drawn-out 3-setter.
I mean, that's actually a harder match than you think on a slow court, right? Lajovic is more of a chance than you'd think. But I think Murray does better here than he's done at Indian Wells in his career.
He has. Although that when he was doing well, they were playing in Key Biscayne. They weren't playing in these the new Hard Rock Stadium.
True. The football stadium.
Yeah.
Also,
I actually think Murray matches up really well against Cressy, to be honest. Like he loves playing those big servers.
I find it really funny that Alcaraz plays the winner of Bagnes and a lucky loser in the first round, because I actually think whoever the qualifier or lucky loser is a pretty significant favorite.
I would agree with that. I don't think it really matters what qualifier it is, actually, either.
I mean, I think it probably does matter. There's got to be. I mean, I haven't looked at the second round qualifying, but there's got to be some guys in that second round qualifying. There's got to be somebody left in the qualifying who's not that good.
Yeah, but Facundo Bagnes, he's not even a lucky like a protected ranking or like.
No, I mean he makes his money on clay and he does all right on clay.
Right, 100 in the world. All right. Next little section, you got ADF. He'll play the winner of Ote and Nakashima. And then you got Husler Vinolas against Tommy Paul. This is a... Oof.
I mean, this is setting up for one of my favorite matches in tennis, which is Paul versus ADF. Those guys always go the distance. It's always a super fun match because both move so well.
Yeah.
And it's like Paul's steadiness versus Fokina's like kind of ridiculous on the edge, like kind of play. So it's actually a really fun match to watch. That's a popcorn tennis match for a third rounder.
I mean, getting back to so ADF has been pretty good recently. Quarterfinal run in Indian Wells is a good one for him. He actually outplayed Medvedev for points in that match. And it was like, this is like someone who has a high tennis IQ versus someone who has a low tennis IQ. And it was so evident in that matchup. And it was just so like funny, like Medvedev kind of just wore him down and knew how to play the score. And just
ADF right there. ADF is like, he's like a more, and I don't even say he's that emotionally under control, but he's probably a more emotionally under control Shapovalov.
That's a good assessment.
But tactically, I mean, and it's amazing. ADF move, and he's got maybe like a little more variety than the Shapo does, but he's
a great athlite. He's a great
athlete. He's got a lot of variety. But he just does a lot of dumb stuff.
He does. And it's a shame because I think he's a good guy and he really fights hard. He doesn't really cave mentally.
No, it's not mental caving. It's just I just think he doesn't It feels like coaching could fix it.
It does feel like that. It's just
right. Like get a coach who knows tactics and teach you like singles tennis tactics. It's not that hard, honestly. 85% of the time, it's hit the ball cross court. Like you're on the right side, hit the ball left. If on the left side, hit the ball right. Like it's not like
That's true. That's true.
right.
Yeah.
Hit the ball over this. Hit the ball a foot over the center strap.
Yeah.
Land it, halfway between the baseline and service line, and like that's 85% of singles.
It is. It is. I really want to see that match again. They played a 5-setter in Australia. That would be amazing if they played Fokina and Paul. What would the odds be in that match?
Probably Paul minus like 180 or something. I think Paul would be a pretty sizable favorite.
True.
I don't know if that's the right line, but I think it is. Like,
yeah. The rest of the guys in this little quarter or little section though are really struggling. Huesler's struggling. Vinolas is struggling. Ote has that big serve, but like, do you really trust him on a slow hard court? And then Nakashima really hasn't been good this year. So like, they're clearly the favorite to meet up in the.
Although I think Nakashima, I don't think he does, but I think he could be ADF because ADF could just go like.
But as you said about Nakashima, he only beats players below his level or his ranking.
No, I know. I'm just saying like the matchup there is a little scary because like Nakashima's got a decent serve. Like Oda has nothing but a serve, so that won't trouble ADF. But Nakashima has a decent serve, and if like ADF is like, if he's going for big shots and missing everything,
okay,
like he could lose that match.
Okay,
which would be sad because again, I want to see Paul ADF. Like that's a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah. All right. Next little section, you got Taylor Fritz in there. He has Emilio Nava and would play the winner of Emilio Nava and Isner. I mean, Isner and Fritz did play probably in similar conditions in Acapulco. Fritz won a 3-setter there. I mean, Isner
against Nava? Oh, it's Fritz. He said, okay.
Yeah. But you have to make Fritz the favorite there. Pela and Varias against Shapo. Shapo is in that little section. So interesting. So if Shapo plays like Varias in the second round, would you or Pela, would you take a flyer on them?
No. I mean, unless it was like ridiculous line, which like I still think no. Like I know Shapo has been awful, but like
I'm taking a flyer on anyone against Shapo. It doesn't matter who he plays. And I'm actually happy that he's playing guys. He's potentially playing guys that are, would be significant underdogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just worth a flyer because like, I mean, Shapo is just so bad right now.
I get it. Like the other guy there is just a guy, right? Like it doesn't matter. I mean, Varias should be able to beat Pea.
That's like a golden swing match. Pela and Varias.
It is. It's a first round golden swing match. And then, yeah, I hear you on Shapo. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, yeah.
I'm hoping, like whoever wins Pea Varias, like I'm hoping they're like plus 480, plus 500.
Well, at that level, I might take it. Like I might take a flyer at 500. I would probably take a flyer.
Probably we'll get plus 300, plus 350.
And then I probably would just stay away.
I'm still hitting it.
Okay.
All right.
I hear you. It's just
yeah. Well, he was number 1 on my fade list. Shapovalov.
I mean, what a setup for Fritz, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although I think this tournament plays decently well for Isner. Hasn't he done well here? Did he?
He has done really well. He won the title. This is his Masters 1000, and he made the final the next year and lost to Federer.
So I mean, he'd be an interesting guy to take a shot on versus Fritz if he beats once he beats Nava. Like if you get Isner like plus what?
Which is no guarantee that he beats Nava.
It's not.
There's no guarantee win for Isner because he'll get to a tiebreak versus anyone.
No, but he also should. Like he probably wins like 70% of tiebreaks versus Nava or something insane. Like he's still good at tiebreaks.
Yeah.
But I think that section sets up really well for Fritz. Like if you're looking at a guy who's a good draw here, I think it's Fritz.
Yeah.
The next section you got Schwartzman versus Yibing Wu and Edmund. So another opportunity to fade Edmund. Like I think they're running out because he's got to be running out of protected rankings.
Well, that's a huge fade section because we're gonna fade Edmund and then we're gonna fade Schwartzman. But the thing is, Wu is going to be like a 6-game favorite against Edmund.
Yeah, I know. And you still might hit him.
Lay the games there?
I might. I mean, Edmund is so bad. Like that ranking of 544, his ranking right now is 544, and I think that's actually pretty accurate.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm curious to see what that line will be. But I mean, I'm gonna pick Wu against Schwartzman too.
You have to. I mean, Schwartzman's a clear fade right now against any competent guy, and Wu qualifies.
Yeah, that's a clear fade spot for Schwartzman. That's probably a pick'em. The Vegas will probably put that as a pick'em. Maybe Wu is a slight favorite if they're smart.
I think Wu will be at least a 2-game favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a better even like. I mean, look, Wu won a tournament, right? Like, Wu's won a tournament this year. How many matches? Like Wu won more matches in Houston, and I know it was different conditions, but Wu won more matches in Dallas than Schwartzman has all year.
It's true.
Like, I mean, it's not about Wu; it's about how bad like Diego's been. I mean, Diego's on the clear fade list until you see him show up for like 2 to 3 matches in a row.
Definitely. And then you got Kachin, who's been terrible against Fucsovic.
He's also not been great.
He's not been great, but he's probably going to be a decent favorite against Kachin.
Yeah.
And then to play
either way, this is honestly such a weak section because like this is a terrible because this is not a good tournament for Holger Rune.
No. Yeah, because Rune struggles in humid conditions, as we saw in Acapulco.
And it's slow.
Right.
So I mean...
But that being said...
But do we like Fritz who was vomiting on the court against Paul on that? Like, this is such an ugly quarter. I mean, is this
This is a 16 to play Alcaraz.
Okay.
Quarter.
So basically Alcaraz is 16th. Because, like, honestly, man, like, I think I would take...
The thing is, Alcaraz is going to probably be minus money to win the quarter.
Yeah, he probably will be.
He probably will be. So it's hard to... I mean...
But if you look, like, who should have any shot against him? Like, who's the toughest competition for Alcaraz there? Maybe Tommy Paul?
Tommy Paul and Fritz. Those are the only 2 guys.
Yeah. And I don't know if Fritz is, because, like, Fritz might wear down. I mean, that was not impressive at Acapulco. Yeah, honestly, Paul wasn't impressive either.
He has an easy draw to get to the 16, and then Rune would be the one guy that could give him problems, but...
I don't think Rune can go 2 sets with Alcaraz.
Not in these conditions.
Yeah. This is just such a mess of a quarter.
If Yibing Wu got to the 3rd round and played Holger Rune, I would take a flyer on Wu, actually. I'd probably take him plus the games there.
I mean, I actually don't hate, like... If you can get, like, Yibing Wu, and I don't know what you'll get on the futures here, but, like, if you can get Wu at, like, 40-1 or 50-1 to win the quarter, is that appetizing?
No. Because he has to play Rune, he has to play Fritz, and then he has to play Alcaraz. Like, that's
you're right. You're right. Yeah, I'm not... Nope,
you're right. Too much.
You're right.
It's too much.
You're right. It's too much. I agree.
So, I mean, he could be Rune if Rune cramps and, like, misses a ton. But then if he has to play Fritz the next round, forget it. And
then just play Alcaraz after that.
Right.
Forget it. Cubed.
Exactly. I mean, he did beat Fritz in Dallas, but it's different conditions. So.
Yeah.
All right. Next quarter, you got the Casper Ruud quarter. He'll play Ivashka. And while Ivashka has to play a qualifier, lucky loser. Then you got Popyrin and Ymer.
That's a weird matchup, right? Like,
can
you think of two more distinct styles?
Yeah. I mean, I think these guys played in Phoenix. And I think Popperin won.
Okay. Again, man, what an ugly section.
Yeah.
Like, what a garbage.
Popperin did beat Ymer 2-2 in Phoenix. I remember because I placed a bet on Popperin to win that match.
Now, here's the fun part, right? So that whole section is just garbage. Like, that whole 16th is just garbage. Like, I actually think Zverev is the favorite to make it out of there by quite a bit.
I agree with you.
Because even the unseeded guys aren't threats.
I actually think Ruusuvuori might be.
I'm a little tired of the Ruusuvuori train, man. It's just like he just can't put it together.
But that's that. Well, the point is how weak this little section is. The fact that I'm talking about Ruusuvuori to potentially make it through to the quarterfinals.
I mean, I guess he's got a shot
because he nearly beat Zverev in Indian Wells.
Yeah, and he did beat Agut.
Yeah, it's a very similar draw for him. Didn't he play Agut at the
He beat Agut in Indian Wells, yeah.
To play Zverev, right?
So yeah, but Agut's been terrible all year.
Right.
Well, with the exception of January.
I actually think Taro Daniel, that's a danger match for Zverev.
It is. I mean, like, so in a bizarro world, it's not a ridiculous thing to say that Taro Daniel has a chance to make it through to the quarterfinals of this tournament. Like, that's what a bizarre world we're in.
Taro Daniel to play Zverev, to play Ruusuvuori or Bautista Agut, to play Casper Ruud, who he beat already in Acapulco.
Or Bodic, or Popyrin, or Ymer.
Holy hell, this is a weak-ass section.
I mean, really, Taro Daniel actually, I think, has a real shot to make the quarters.
But you can't. They don't have bets to make the quarters, right?
They don't. It's to win the quarter. And then once he gets there,
you'd have to play.
You look at the section below, and this is sick. You get Sinner against Jiri or a qualifier.
Yeah,
not bad for a first round matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Fognini's down here. Dimitrov is here. So Dimitrov Sinner could be a third round match. I mean, I think on these conditions it goes to Sinner, but that's a fun third round match.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Kecmanovic has been pretty bad. I favor Humbert against Monfils.
Oh, that's such a bad section, though. Again,
pretty bad section.
Well, I mean, Rublev's the clear favorite here, right?
So if Taro Daniel's 50 or 75 to 1 to win the quarter, would you place a bet on that?
No, because is Taro Daniel is he a favorite against Rinderknecht? Maybe he might be a favorite there.
Yes, he's a favorite,
but it's not a massive favorite.
Not massive, but he should be a favorite there.
But I think that's 60-40. What do you think to Taro Daniel?
65-30.
I mean, pretty close. Fine, pretty close. But then he's a dog. He's a dog against Zverev.
Yeah, he'd be a dog pretty much.
He's a dog against RBA or Ruusuvuori.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd be a dog against Ruud or Bodic. Yeah.
And then he's a huge dog against whoever wins that section with Rublev and Sinner in it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a plus 500 dog, I would think, in that at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I really think Sinner should get to the semis again here. Just looking at this draw. I'm sure the odds makers will make him a slight favorite over Rublev here.
I'm sure they will too. But I actually think it's a really close matchup, just because like that's another pure ball strikers matchup. So I would agree Sinner's striking the ball a little bit better than Rublev right now, right? He's in my top 5 and Rublev's not. But I don't think like Rublev can win that match.
So if you put the order in who wins this quarter, is probably Sinner, like in terms of how Vegas will place it. You think it's going to be Sinner, Rublev, then probably Ruud, and then Zverev? I actually might, if Zverev is like 10-1 to win that quarter, I might bet him to win the quarter.
If who's Zverev?
Yeah. If he's like, if I get 10 or 12-1 to win that quarter, because against any of these guys, he should be favored, right? Ruud is really at like he's not playing like a top 10 guy now.
Yeah, I mean, Zverev should make the quarters.
Quarterfinal.
So yeah, if you're giving me
right?
10-1,
and then
I guess, but like I think so. Yeah, if you're giving me 10-1, I think so because like there's nobody else in that quarter who should be close to Zverev. Now that we talk about it, like, I mean, like we were laughing with Taro Daniel, but like he really should not like Zverev. Now that Zverev's back to like some kind of form,
yeah,
that should like that should be Zverev over Taro Daniel.
It should be.
I know Taro's playing well, but that should be Zverev.
Yes.
RBA should not be a threat, or he's playing terribly. Ruusuvuori should not be a threat. He's just not like Zverev's just a better player. Like Ruusuvuori is a threat in that matchup, but it should be Zverev. Like,
and that gets him to the 16s to play Ruud or Bodic, where he should be a favorite there too.
The problem is like, I don't know. Like, I think he's like, it's probably like 1 out of 3 he makes it to that quarters match. And then would you take him at plus 300 versus Sinner right now? I don't think I would. Like, Sinner's been really good. The only time anybody's been beating Sinner is when it's like Medvedev or Djokovic.
Yeah.
Or Alcaraz.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would need to get 10 or 12-1 to bet Zverev there. Otherwise, I'm staying.
At least. I mean, it's probably 15 for me. 15 is probably my line where I would take it. Because, like, you're still asked, like Zverev's been a lot better the past couple weeks. I think
Sinner is a tougher match for you know, like, I don't think Zverev beats Sinner, but I think Zverev could beat Rublev if they play.
Cool, and I still think he'd be a dog.
He was the favorite in Dubai.
That was weird.
That was weird. That was weird. I agree. And I mean, that second set could have gotten either way in Dubai. Granted, it's totally different conditions as well. Yeah, I would say 10 or 12-1 for me for Zverev to win that quarter. You're saying 50.
Okay, I just think he like, for me, it's partially like he's been better, but he's not like invincible. Okay. And he's still got to win 4 matches.
Right.
To win the quarter.
Okay. It's
actually maybe, yeah, you know what? Maybe I give him 10, maybe at 10-1 I would take it. He probably won't even get that, but it's probably a moot point. It'll probably be like 7-1 or something.
We'll have to see, but it's a weak quarter to say the least.
Oh, I don't think it is. I mean, Sinner. I mean, you've got Sinner and Rublev down there. I think it's fine.
Okay. True, but the bottom 16 is much stronger than the top 16.
Yeah, the 1/16th is exceptionally weak.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the bottom half of the draw, you got Hubie Hurkacz. He'll play
against Zizou. The wild cards for this tournament are really weird.
They are.
I don't understand like how these guys get wild cards. Like, why is Zizou like? Actually, I've heard that Miami is like it's really about like networking. Like getting a wild card here is all about who you know.
Interesting.
Which would make sense. Like, why would Zizou get a wild card?
That is pretty weird.
Why would Taro Daniel get a wild card? And actually probably a fair wild card because he's actually probably like no, in terms of like that's actually probably a wild card going to a guy that has like a real chance of doing something. But usually like wild cards are given out as like favors or like because the guy's a big name or because the guy's local, not because they're actually good at tennis.
Right. Yeah.
Nah, but I think it's part of IMG Academy. I think that's why he got a wild card, I think.
Okay.
But
I think I like Shelton here actually to make a 16. Actually, he matches up pretty well against Hubie Hurkacz. Like I think that has like 7-6, 6-7, 6-4 written all over.
I was gonna say that's the thing, right? Like I think that's a really close matchup.
It's a pick'em, right? But the thing is, you're probably gonna get Shelton as a pretty sizable dog.
You know what though? Like I actually, yeah, I think I like Shelton over. I was gonna say like, Shang is a wild card here.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting match with Shang against Mannarino.
It is because like I don't think this is like Mannarino's best place to play.
No, probably not. Yeah. But if Shelton plays Hurkacz in the round of 32, like I'm clearly taking Shelton because I think Hurkacz will be a decent favorite.
I don't know, man. Like I don't like people love Shelton. And he's at home. Like you might see this line, especially if you don't hit it early. Mm-hmm. This line might get really pretty close to a coin flip.
Really? I mean, that's where it should be, to be honest.
I've got Hubie at like minus. I think this is like a minus 160 plus 130 kind of line for Hubie.
Okay.
Maybe like minus 150 plus 120, something like that. I'm hoping
to get better than that on Shelton because I'd hammer Shelton. But
at plus 120, you'd hammer Shelton?
No, I'm hoping like it would be like plus 150 for Shelton.
Right. I don't think you'll get that, but we'll see.
We'll see. And then the next little section, you got Coric in there.
Oh, what a gift for Norrie, man. Clearly somebody loves Norrie because like Barrera's a non-factor, Kudla's a non-factor. Honestly, like the qualifier is probably a favorite against Kudla. The qualifier is probably a favorite against Barrera. On a slow court. Like this is like this is Norrie, and then like
Norrie
the qualifier is probably a favorite against Coric. Friedman's probably a favorite against Coric right now, especially with the strong doubles performance tonight.
That's the top 16. The bottom 16, you got De Minaur against either Hallis or Pedro. Berrettini, who didn't look
against Golan or McDonald.
Yeah, I mean
Yoshi, who's playing terribly right now against Molcan, who's struggling or a qualifier.
You got this matchup again: Carballes, Baena, and Zapata on a hard court this time.
Again.
That's like the third time they played in like 2 months, right?
It is, yeah.
Crazy. All right, to play Medvedev. Woof. But that's a nice looking section for Medvedev again.
Yeah.
I think
De Minaur. Yeah, I mean it's another friendly draw for Medvedev, especially like in terms of the style, right? Like, I guess like, you know what? It sucks that Yoshi's not playing better. Because like if Yoshi was playing decent, I actually think that would be a good matchup for Yoshi. Or a bad matchup for Medvedev.
Yeah.
Like mentally, I could see Yoshi getting into Medvedev's head. Like, this isn't real tennis. The guy just dinks the ball every time. Like, is he gonna be a man and hit the ball? Tell him to hit the ball.
Yeah. You're not wrong about that. That's true. Yoshi's just not playing that well right now.
Honestly, I'm really excited to see the qualifiers. I think the qualifiers have a chance here, man.
They do.
There's a lot of spots where I like the qualifiers over the guys that they're playing in the first round. For real, because not only they also get the benefit, right, of playing on the having played 2 matches on these
Getting used to the
courts. Like,
conditions, right?
there's no they got in probably earlier, so there's no travel spot. There's no court transition. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I yeah.
De Minaur did beat Medvedev in Paris, I believe, last year.
Yeah,
Different conditions, but De Minaur.
I mean, I mean, this is a tricky.
But De Minaur
I could
likes a
see Medvedev
faster
going out
hardcourt.
early here.
Huh?
I'm not saying it's likely, but I could see Medvedev going out early here. I think Yoshi's a tricky matchup. I know he's not playing well, but I think just the matchup is tricky. And I think De Minaur's a tricky matchup.
But De Minaur likes a faster hardcourt. You know, like
he won Acapulco.
Yeah, but look at the guys he played. He only played basically he only played 2 guys. Played Holger Rune, who cramped up badly.
Who are you playing the quarters?
I think didn't he beat the Berrettini's younger brother?
No, he played Taro. He beat Taro was the answer to the question.
Taro Daniel. So does that really count?
No, I was making a joke. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, he played 2 matches. One guy that cramped badly in the 3rd set,
and another guy that ran out of gas.
Right, just ran out of gas. Tommy Paul. So, and like, De Minaur plays better on faster courts. He just needs a little bit. Like, otherwise, it's just hard for him to hit.
But everything you're saying is true of Medvedev. Is true of Medvedev.
But he's just a better tennis player, right? He's a better version of De Minaur.
Yeah, it's just a question of, can De Minaur get in his head?
That'll be really tough.
But I think De Minaur likes to attack. Like, I think De Minaur would probably try to attack, because he does actually try to attack a little. He's just not very good at it. I think you're right. To
me, Berrettini's a non-factor here. I actually would, if McDonald gets through Galan, like I might be tempted to actually play McDonald plus the games there. Berrettini didn't look good in Phoenix against Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's really struggling. So, yeah. I mean,
I think it's interesting. I think Norrie's got a real shot in this quarter.
He does. If you get him at 6-1, I would take him again.
What'd you say?
If I get him at 8 or 10-1,
yeah,
probably not 6-1 because of Medvedev, but
I actually like this draw for him more than I did previous Indian Wells draw.
Okay. What about Shelton at 25-1? Would you consider that?
I don't think you'll get that though. I think you'll get 12-1 or something, and that's not that interesting to me.
No. I'm very
interested. In the quarter, right? Not the tourney.
Yeah, the quarter.
Yeah.
But the fact that Medvedev is there, I feel like you might get 20-1 on a guy like Shelton.
Because the bookers are gonna be super high on Medvedev since he made the final of Indian Wells. It'll be really interesting to see futures. It's so much. It's so hard to do this without seeing lines, right?
It is. It is very hard. But I'm very, very interested to see the quarter 3 odds here, because I think there's a lot of value. I think there's value in Hubert, on Hurkacz. There's value on Shelton. There's value in Norrie. There's value on De Minaur. And probably no value on Medvedev unless you get better than plus 100. But I think there's 4 or 5 guys which have value there in betting the quarter. I can't wait to see those odds.
Yeah, I can't either.
So
it should be up tomorrow, right? Once qualifying's done.
Yeah. Yep. But last quarter, you got Felix in there. Play the winner of Montero and Kubler. Wame Munar will play a qualifier. They'll play the winner of Cerundolo will play the winner of that match. You got Evans and Sonigo versus Team here. Tiafoe's in this section. So that's the top 16. Oof.
I mean, this is all steam ahead towards Tiafoe versus FAA in a round of 16 matchup, right?
Yep.
But I mean, I think Kubler could take a set from FAA. I think Cerundolo could take a set, but asking him to win the match is quite a tall order.
Right. Yeah, they played in Indian Wells, Serena and FAA. Didn't Kubler play FAA in
He played him in one of the tournaments in Europe, and he took a set. Yeah, Dubai, not Europe, right. Dubai. Yeah, he took a set.
I think the only danger guy of these guys here really to make a run is Sonego.
Yeah, Sonego's the threat.
Because I think he beats Evans.
No, I mean, I think like Sonego gets to play Tiafoe.
Yeah.
And then, but that should be a Miami crowd. That should be a pro.
It's a Tiafoe. Pro Tiafoe. Tiafoe will like it here.
Energy wise, yeah.
Yeah. And if Tiafoe plays FAA in the 16, I mean, what would you FAA should be a slight favorite.
I think FAA is the pick in that matchup. Like, they're kind of. I think the difference there is FAA's serve. I know that doesn't play that well on these courts, but having the better serve, like, I don't know, like between these two guys, I just feel like the serve should play. Should be the difference maker.
Okay. I want to see the form leading up to that match, before we bet that one, but I want to see this bottom section because I think there's value on like Tiafoe to win the quarter here.
Oh, I mean, for sure, because this bottom section is trash.
So you got Kachanov.
I mean, like look at that very bottom section. So you got Tsitsipas who doesn't want to win here. You've got Gasquet who, like, is Gasquet the favorite down there in that bottom, like,
probably
6 guys?
Wow, it's so weak. Holy hell, man. Jeez.
I mean, actually, the guy I really like here is Kachanov.
Yeah, but Kachanov has been terrible post-Australia.
I mean, he's barely played, right? Like,
lost the first match to BDZ in Dubai, and then
that's fine. I don't even count that.
Okay, and then he lost to ADF in Indian Wells.
And a tough 3-setter. That's not horrible.
Okay,
I can see how Kachanov would lose that match.
Okay.
It's not that I love Kachanov or love Kachanov's form right now, but like, tell me, like.
But like, if Echeverry plays Kachanov in the second round, I would be very tempted to take Echeverry plus 1.5 sets or something like that, or even take a flyer on the money line.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was gonna say. Is like, that's fine. You can poo-poo Kachanov and say he's not playing well right now, but like, okay, so the other guys in that section are Musetti.
Are we gonna have to bet Lechka again here because the score is?
Well, no, we're not going to. I can't think of. I mean, I'd have to get like you'd have to get a really good line to bet Lechka at this point because I just don't like. After that performance in Indian Wells and granted it was against Rublev, but he looked so bad.
Yeah,
and like I just didn't. I mean, not bad, but he just didn't. He never really looked in the match, and I was really disappointed with losing the last 6 games in a row. So
I'm disappointed with losing in Phoenix as well, first round to Kokkinakis.
He couldn't get a beer. Maybe he didn't care. Like I don't know. Yeah, but he's been playing all these relevant matches. Now he's got to go play a challenger. Like, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, that being said, Lechka beats Coria, right?
Yeah.
And
then Musetti
should beat Musetti on hard.
That's why I'm saying I think it's Kachanov because, like, I get it. We don't like. I get it. We don't like Kachanov's form lately, but like, really, he's worse than Etch now. So his form has definitely not been worse than Musetti's.
Are you saying that you want to bet Gasquet to win this quarter?
No, because I mean,
disgusting as that sounds.
Because Tiafoe and FAA are still in this quarter. Like, I think I just swallow hard and bet like Tiafoe probably win the quarter. And it's a real swallow hard, but like I think that's the play.
That's the play.
It's at home. He should have an energy bump.
So Tiafoe, what odds would you take? Would you expect there to win the quarter?
Probably like plus 400, even as a favorite. Because like this is one of those where you've got like he's plus 4. I mean, I don't actually think he will be. I think FA will be the favorite, but like it would be something like if I was saying it'd be like Tiafoe plus 400, FA plus 450.
You still have Tsitsipas there, and the books are still going to give him decent respect.
They will. They will.
So they'll probably put him at like plus 500.
I'll probably end up dropping something on FAA and Tiafoe to win the quarter. Is my guess. We'll see. FAA might get respect to it. I would think Tiafoe will probably get the third share there, and I'll probably take him. Yeah. I might take FAA depending on what kind of respect he gets.
That's a weak ass quarter, man. Holy hell.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It just seems like a very underwhelming draw. Like usually I see these Masters 1000s and I'm like, holy crap, it's low.
Well, again, right? Like Djokovic isn't allowed to play.
But that's it.
Nadal's hurt.
Okay, Nadal. True.
I mean, again, we only have 5 guys who are at the top right now, right? So if there's no Djokovic, that means there's Alcaraz, Medvedev, Sinner, and who's the 5th?
Tsitsipas.
And Tsitsipas is hurt. So it's Alcaraz, Medvedev, and Sinner. And that's it. And everybody else is a cup below.
I guess, yeah.
Like when 2 of the top 5 guys are hurt, the draw's going to look weak.
Yeah, probably true. Yeah, but usually I see like some like better popcorn matches like that could appear in the second round or something, and like you just don't see that here.
You know what? Yeah, it's a little odd, and I feel like.
But I saw the entry list for like Monte Carlo, and that event is going to be absolutely loaded. It's also like I think it's like a 54 draw or something. We're going to get Djokovic in there. We're going to get Nadal in there. Like that draw.
Well, that's the difference, right? So you add Djokovic, Nadal, and we assume Tsitsipas is healthy.
And you cut the draw in half. And you cut the draw in half.
Right, and all of a sudden it's all popcorn tennis, right? Like,
yeah. Right.
That's the problem with these 96-man fields, right? Is that they're basically they're basically slams.
Yeah.
So the first couple rounds are going to be like
Kachin and Fucsovics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I was more excited for the Indian Wells first round than I was here. I mean, maybe we got to see these qualifiers being placed. That probably has something to do with it, but obviously we're going to watch them and bet them, but yeah.
We will?
Oh, yeah, we will. All right, let's get into just before we sign off. Let's talk about the.
Well, I guess, Manny, beyond that, right? Like once you get through that, like once you get to quarters, like what are your thoughts? I mean, like in terms of the outright, like any thoughts on the outright? I think like we talked about, right? Like, is there anybody really here who challenges Alcaraz? Like, who is the biggest challenge for Alcaraz? I think the answer is Sinner. But he's got to get through Rublev.
So his path is probably Tommy Paul in the 16s, to play Fritz in the quarters, to play Sinner in the semis, to play Medvedev, FAA, or Tiafoe in the final.
That's actually not easy. Like, I would prefer a bottom half guy. I just don't know who to pick in the bottom half. Like, I don't like who in the bottom half looks appetizing.
Tiafoe, FAA, Medvedev, Norrie.
Norrie's appetizing. Norrie's interesting. Norrie's an interesting outright, I think, actually. If you can outright Norrie at like 25-1, I think that's a really interesting long shot play.
Because like Norrie gets to the 16s easily.
Right.
Shelton
And
or
like
Hurkacz,
Hubie,
I
like
feel like
Hubie,
he outsteadies either of those guys, right?
right? And then once he gets to the 16s, like you're gonna have to play eventually good guys to win a tennis tournament. And like Hubie or Shelton's not a bad. Like I think Shelton's a great matchup for Norrie.
I agree.
I don't think Hubie's terrible either.
Have those guys played before?
What?
Have those guys played before?
Ooh, I don't know. Shelton and Norrie or Hubie and Norrie?
Hubie and Norrie.
I would think they should have.
No, they have not.
Ooh, interesting.
Very interesting. So we don't really know what that match looks like. The thing is, Medvedev is there. Like, if Medvedev was on the bottom and Norrie wouldn't have to play Medvedev until the semis.
But you don't think Norrie can beat Medvedev here?
What's their head-to-head? But so Medvedev at least made the quarters here the last couple of years. So I think he prefers these courts than Indian.
Oh, these courts are way better. If you're talking about this versus Indian Wells, yeah, this is way better for Medvedev. This is like a little less because like this is slow, but it's not as like strange. Like Indian Wells is kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like this, you can understand why it's hot, it's humid, yada yada. That's so it's going to be slow. Like it makes a little more sense.
I mean, he destroyed Norrie in Los Cabos last year in the final, 5 in love. I just think Medvedev is just a better version of Norrie. Like they do a lot of the same things, right?
I agree.
So, I mean, I'd need to get like 30-1 for an outright. Like I like the quarter play at like 8-1 or 9-1. Just because I think he gets to the quarters pretty easily. But
I can actually see, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I could see Medvedev ending up out.
Then he has to play a Tiafoe again in the semis, and we saw how that worked out for Norrie last week. You know?
Yeah.
I actually think he matches up better with FAA than Tiafoe, to be honest with you.
But he could end up getting FAA, right? There's no guarantee Tiafoe beats FAA.
But he matches up better with FAA than Tiafoe because FAA doesn't use the drop shot. He doesn't have the variety that Tiafoe does. Right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like if he plays so he could end up playing FAA and then he's got a good match against FAA. Like it's not a guarantee he plays Tiafoe.
True. Yeah, we got to see these odds, but like, yeah, Norrie is definitely one of those guys I'm considering. I put him at 28-1 in Indian Wells. I placed a flyer on that.
Yeah.
So, but it's Alcaraz all the way. I mean, he's head and shoulders above all of these guys, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to come up with somebody who could beat him, and like Norrie's, like no, that's kind of why like Norrie's a good candidate to beat Alcaraz.
Yeah, Norrie does play Alcaraz tough. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to put Alcaraz for the outright? Like -110?
No. Maybe it's like +150, +180, something like that.
I'm gonna hit that.
I don't know if I'll hit it at 180. That's not much value for a guy to win 6 matches in a row after he just won the first half of a Sunshine Double. Not that I don't think Medvedev's in shape enough to do it. It's tough.
Yeah, we got to see these odds, but if I get +180 on Alcaraz to win the title, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hit that.
All right. Well, I think, does that close the podcast, or is there anything else to discuss?
Let's talk a little bit about the qualifying for tomorrow.
All right.
So,
I don't know if we need to go through every match, unless you want to.
We're not going to do guess the lines here, but just like skimming through it.
I like Watanuki over O'Connell, I think. Like, I think O'Connell's a little better on a faster court. I saw that line. I think is Watanuki plus 140. I don't hate that money line. Watanuki's been pretty good.
I don't mind that. Let me check Watanuki's results. Ooh, not a good loss in Phoenix. Then lost to Shank. I'm not really fond of his last 3 results, though. To be honest, last 4 results. A guy ranked 943 in the world took him to 3 sets today.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, really, it's only 2 results that I think are terrible. Like losing to Ponwith and the block losing a set is bad. But like the other 2 don't look that horrible to me.
Yeah, those 2 are not terrible.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, the last 2 are more alarming. Like, these are terrible results.
They are. And I don't know anything about this Alexander Blocks kid from Belgium.
He's 943 in the world. I think that tells me enough.
Yeah, I guess the only positive thing I would say is he's only 17 or 8. He's only 17. But
I might place O'Connell in a money line parlay. That's
interesting. So you like O'Connell?
I like O'Connell there. I like Blanchino plus 230 against Altmaier. Like, I don't think Altmaier should be minus 285 against anyone. And Blanchino has been decent. Like, he's been very competitive. He's been winning sets off of guys. You know. Nice win against Rinky. I mean, 5 losses, but one of them was to Cressy. One of them is to Struff, who's wrecking havoc in the Challenger Tour. Kovacevic, who's been decent, but tight 3-setter there. Played Fucsovics tough in Montpellier. But, like, Altmaier is really not that good.
I agree with you. Like, I'm just curious to why the line is so big. But that seems like a pretty big spread, pretty big line.
Like, Altmaier just lost to a guy ranked 309 in the world.
No, I know. That's the thing. Well, yeah, I guess the challenge with Blanchino is until he beat Rinky, he was on a 4-match losing streak, including losing to Berretini's little brother.
Fair.
5-match losing streak.
I'm not like super high on Blanchino. I'm just saying, like, he's been competitive and
it's a good price. I get it. I mean, I might even back you on it. It's not terrible.
Mm-hmm. As far as Machuk and Thompson go, I like Machuk at even money. I just think he's a better tennis player than Thompson. Plus, I'm taking more stock in the Machuk crazy 3-set match against Djokovic than the Thompson 3-set win against Tsitsipas.
I'm taking very little stock in either of those, but I do agree with you that Machuk, I think, is the better player there. And if you can get like Thompson on a slow court, I love the idea of getting to bet against that. So yeah.
And Misalik plus 290 is appetizing to me against Safalunin. Should Safalunin be minus 375 against anyone?
Not on a slow court.
Yeah. So I might take a flyer on that as well. These guys are primarily clay guys, Skatov and Alves, so I might stay away there. Klein had a decent win against Arnaldi today. Eubanks is probably also
Klein or Klein?
Klein.
Okay.
Eubanks is better on a faster court, right?
I would think. I'm not really too high on Skatov. I don't know that I like either. I'm probably staying away there.
Yeah, he mainly plays clay events.
And he tends to try. I think he tends to try to play weaker challengers also.
Yeah.
Albot versus Pavel Kotov. Any feelings on the Albot? Kokonok against Pair is a fun matchup, but I don't think I would ever bet it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Nuno Borges is minus 110 against Gojo with how good he's been recently.
I like Borges there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised he's a pick'em. I'm surprised Borges isn't a favorite.
It's probably just like he's played so much tennis.
Yeah.
And then but Gojo played 7-6, 6-7, 7-6 today against Holt. So Borges had the easier match today. So I like Borges there as well. Yeah, I think I'm gonna play Klein against Eubanks. I think Eubanks is just so erratic on a slow court as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know,
Eubanks. Who did Eubanks beat today? Oh, he beat Abdullah. Abdullah's another guy for a faster court, I think.
Right. So Green also has been pretty good recently, but Tabilo.
But so is Tabilo.
So that's an interesting match. I think the line is pretty well set there, to be honest.
I think so too. I mean, I'm happy with that. I've got 4 or 5 plays. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. But it'll be interesting to see where these qualifiers are placed in the draw.
It will. I think some of them have a real shot to do something in the draw.
Yeah. All right, so that does it for this section of the podcast. We will come back probably on Thursday night and preview the round 2 matchups. So.
Thanks everyone for listening as always. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
right. Have a great night.
Signing off.